Good morning, everyone. Within 2 minutes, I'm going to start the class. Good morning, everyone. This is Pawan from Young Scientist Company. Today onwards, I'm going to teach you Python programming language. Today, I'm going to teach you the introduction of the Python programming. Okay, I'll give you a clear idea about today's session. Today, I'm going to explain you about these topics. What is Python? Why Python? Who uses Python? Features of Python. History of Python. Python versions. How to download Python, how to install Python, Python applications, creating your first program, printing to the screen, reading keyboard. All these topics I am going to explain you right now. Okay, let's get into the topics. Okay, what is Python? What is Python? Python is a programming language. As we goes to a clear definition, if we goes to a clear definition, Python is a compiled and interpreted object-oriented programming language with dynamic semantics. What is compilation? What is interpretation? What is object-oriented programming language? What is dynamic semantics? As we comes to this, uh, I'll let you know about what is a source code at first. What is a source code? A sequence of instructions that is written in a particular programming language is called source code. Okay, what is compilation? Then what is the link between the source code and compilation and interpretation? The source code that we have written in a particular programming language is need to compile, need to interpret it to understand by the machine or the computer. If we if the computer needs to understand our language, so we have to compile, we have to convert the high level programming language. Python is a high level programming language that can't be understood by the machine or the computer. If the computer needs to understand the instructions that we have written or the source code that we have written in a particular programming language, that must be need to compiled or interpreted. So the instructions that we are given to the computer or the machine will be executed by compiling it and by interpreting it. the instructions, if the computer need to follow the instructions that we are given, it must need to compile and interpret. Then what is compilation and what is interpretation? Python, actually, if you search in your browser, you will get Python is an interpreted programming language, but Python is a compiled and interpreted programming language. Why? Because at first the Python program that we have written need to compile, and it will get a bytecode. The bytecode will be interpreted to get a mission level language. The interpretation will be done by using a PVM, Python virtual machine. By using the Python virtual machine, the bytecode that compiled from the Python language will be converted into a machine level language. Why we need to do all this? In other programming language, we don't need to do all these things. Why we have to do all these things in Python? To achieve portability. What is portability? Portability means we have different type of OS, operating systems. The major advantage of Python is we can run Python programs anywhere. That is portability. We can run the bytecode that is compiled from the Python language will be run. We can run those bytecodes into other OS platforms like Unix. If we write a Python code in Windows, then we can run the bytecode of the Python program, Python source code in Linux, Unix, and different other OSs. I mean operating systems. So that is the advantage of Python. Okay, what is the difference between compilation and interpretation? Compilation will compile and will execute the entire code at a time, but interpretation is different from compilation. Each and every line will be executed in interpretation. That is the difference between compilation and interpretation. Object oriented programming language. What is object orientation? Programming style which is associated with concepts like class, object, inheritance, encapsulation, abstraction, polymorphism. These all of these things is supported by object oriented programming, as like Java. Most programming languages like Java, C++, C#, Ruby, etc. following object oriented programming. In the same way, Python also uses object oriented programming. Okay, coming to Python is simple and easy to learn. Why Python is simple and easy to learn? Why? Because unlike other programming languages, Python syntax is human readable. Python, as I said to you, that Python is a high level programming language. Unlike other programming languages, we don't have a typical syntaxes, so we can easily understand the Python. As a beginner, this will allow us to pick up the basics quickly with less mental strain, and you can level up to advanced topics quicker. Within hours of time, you can learn the basics of the Python, and you can learn the advanced topics. That is the major advantage of the Python. In most of the other programming languages, requires more syntax code to do some similar tasks. And as other programming languages, if you want to let's compare with Python with Java. If we want to open a file and we have to copy, if we want to copy some data in the file, and if we have to close the file, we need lots of code. But in Python, it's very simple to do those tasks. Okay. Python supports modules and packages. What is module? As like if we compare with C language, in C language we usually include some header files. If we want to use printf statements, or if we want to uh, take a input in C language, we have to use a header file called stdio.h. In the same way if we want to do some operations in Python, we have to import some modules. There are inbuilt modules and we can create our own modules also. A module is nothing but a program file. We have inbuilt modules and we can create our own modules. Why we need to use the user defined modules? The own creation, the modules that created by us is called the user defined modules. Why we have to use the user defined modules? We use user defined modules to break the large programs into smaller, manageable and organized files. The other advantage of the modules, user defined modules is user defined modules are inbuilt modules. The reusability of code is the major advantage here. We can reuse the code that we have written in other module, and if we want to reuse the code, we no need to import the file into our respective module. Then we can use the code, then we can reuse the code of the Python of the other programs. Then Python is open source programming language. As if we check, Python has a large community. Python has a large community. With that community, everything has already developed, so that if you want to do anything newer that has already done by someone, if you stuck at any project, there is a large community to help us, to help you, to help me. So Python is an open source programming language. The source code of the Python will be available to public. Okay, let's go to the second topic. Why Python? Why we need to choose Python? It has a simple syntax. If you have any prior knowledge about Python, if you have any prior knowledge about any other programming languages, let's take C, or let's take Java, let's take a C++. It has a typical syntaxes. Comparatively Python, I'll show you an example. If you want to print a statement, just see here, Python, if we want to print hello world, if we want to write a hello world program in Java or in C language or in Python, this is the major advantage. This is the major difference. We no need to write any braces. We no need to write any semicolons at the end of the statements. We no need to mention. We no need to do all of those stuff. Semicolons, braces, everything. That will not be done by Python. We can write simply with simple syntaxes. So it is called with a simple syntax. So use Python because of having simple syntaxes. Okay, let's compare the Python program with C program. If we want to print a statement, we need to use some header files. In C language, we need to include header files. We need to write main statement after the main function. After that, we have to open the brace. After that, we have to write printf statement. We need to end the printf statement with a semicolon. After that, we have to close the main function. if we wants to print a statement, we have to do all this stuff. Coming to Java program, we need to include a class, public static void main. After that, we have to brace. We have to open a brace. We have to write system.out.println and hello world. Close the brace. And next, the closing the brace. We need to the let's compare. Just see the difference. We have written 4 lines of code here. We have written 6 to 8 lines of code here. We have just written 2 lines of code here. That is the major advantage of Python. We no need to write lots of lines to do the similar task that will be done by other programming languages. This is the major advantage. As I said to you, Python has large community and resources. If we stuck at any project, there is a large community to help us. So that is that makes us very simple to do any type of projects. Extensibility. There is wide range of frameworks and libraries built in Python. So getting started with any project is very simple. Python is supported in different type of platforms, including Mac OS, Windows OS, Linux OS, and we can move our code run in different operating systems. As I said to you that we can run the bytecode that we have written in Windows can be executed in other OS, different operating systems, other operating systems. Python is a multi-purpose programming language. How can you say Python is a multi-purpose programming language? You can ask me. Okay, I'll tell you. You should learn Python as it just how multi-purpose it is. Since there are so many frameworks and libraries built on top of the Python, it can be used for basically anything a programming language is capable of. If we take any other programming languages, Python can do all those stuff that can be done by other programming languages. So it is a multi-purpose programming language comparatively with other programming languages. For a particular task, there are some programming languages. For a particular task, there is a programming language. But Python is a multi-purpose programming language. We can do whatever we want with Python. We can do web applications. We can do artificial intelligence. We can do machine learning. Can do gaming. We can do graphics. We can do animation. Whatever we want, we can do by using Python. It can analyze data very well, run scripts to automate boring tasks, and so much more. We can use Python for artificial intelligence, machine learning, data science, etc. There are lots of things we can do by using Python. Python have modules and packages. By using the packages, we can implement all of this stuff. We can do all of this stuff. Who uses Python? Let's coming to another topic. Who uses Python? Spotify, Quora, Netflix app. In the new generations, as now, at present, Spotify, Quora, Netflix, and some many other platforms using Spotify. How Spotify is using the Python? I'll tell you right now. Spotify used Python primarily for data analysis and backend services. For data analysis and backend services, Python is used by the Spotify. On the backend, there are large services that all communicate using ZeroMQ, an open source library and framework that is written in Python. To communicate with large services, to make communication, ZeroMQ is an open source library that framework that is used for the backend services in Spotify, Quora. if you search in your browser, Quora is a large platform for any question. There are lots of huge questions and answers there in Quora.com. In Quora.com, how the Quora.com has used the Python to achieve their ideas. In Quora. They used Python because of ease of writing. Because it's ease of writing. As I said to you, it has a simple syntax, simple and elegant syntax compared to other programming languages. It is very easy to understand. It is very easy to memorable. It is used by the Quora.com because of having its ease of writing and readability, and implemented C++ for performance of critical situations. Sorry, critical sections. Okay, how Netflix is used Python. Netflix uses Python in a very similar manner to Spotify. As Spotify, as you know that Spotify is for music, Netflix is for videos. In the same way, in the same manner, Netflix is also using the Python. In Netflix, at the beginner level, Netflix allows the programmers to choose what language to code in. And notice most of the programmers choose Python. Okay, this is about who uses Python. These three platforms I want to discuss about with you. Okay, let's coming to this topic: features of Python. Easy to code. As I said to you that it's very easy to code. We can Python's major advantage is we can write a large amount of code that have written in other programming languages. In other programming languages, we have to write lots of code. In Python, in the same amount of the same lines of code will be reduced in Python if we write a Python program. That is the main advantage of a Python. So let's come to the second one, free and open source. As I said to you that Python is free, open source. Free and open source. Python is freely available at official websites, and you can download it from other websites. Since it is open source, this means the source code of Python language will be available to public. Python is an object-oriented programming language. One of the key features of Python is object-oriented programming. Python supports object-oriented programming languages. Python is an object-oriented programming language. It supports object orientation and supports concepts like classes, objects, encapsulation, etc., etc., etc. If you have any prior knowledge in object-oriented programming languages, I think you know about what is a class, what is an object, encapsulation, etc., etc. Okay, coming to fourth one, GUI programming support. What is GUI? GUI, graphical user interface. It can made the graphical user interface can made using a module such as PyQt5 and PyQt4 and etc. There are some other modules we can do graphical user interface. PyQt is the most popular option for creating. PyQt5 is the most popular option for creating graphical apps with Python. This is one of the feature. Graphical user interface is the feature of Python. High level language. As I said to you that Python is high level language. We no need to remember all the system architecture. We no need to manage the memory. Why we no need to manage the memory? If we take Java, we need to organize the memory. Sorry. If we compare with C++, we need to organize the memory. As we compare to Python, with C++, we no need to organize the memory. We no need to manage the memory. It will automatically manages the memory. So the free up space free upping is easy for us. So we no need to bother about the memory management. Python is portable language. What is portability? We can run the code that we have written in one OS, one operating system can be, we can run the same code in different operating systems. That is the portability. Python is integrated language. Why Python is integrated language? How Python is integrated language? We can include other programming languages. We can include other programming languages into Python by using, we can include other programming languages like C++, C into Python. So it is an integrated programming language. Large standard library. Python has a large standard library which provides a rich set of modules and functions. So you don't need to write your own code for every single thing. If you wanna do Python has a large standard library. As I said to you that we can include built-in modules in our program. We don't need to write for every task. We don't need to write our own modules. We can include the inbuilt modules that already written by the Python developers. So Python is dynamically typed language. That means the type for a variable is decided at the runtime, not in advance. Because of this feature, we no need to specify the type of the variable. That means for a variable in Python, we no need to specify the type of the variable, because it will take the type of the variable by the value that we have assigned to the variable. By using the value, by analyzing the value, it will automatically takes the type of the variable. You change the value. If we give a value to a variable, if it's a string, it will take string. If we change the value, to integer, it will automatically converts to int. The variable is automatically converts to integer. The variable is automatically converts to string. If we give a float value, it will automatically takes the type of the variable into uh, float. Okay, let's go to the history of the Python. Python was initially designed by Guido van Rossum in 1991 and developed by Python Software Foundation. The name of the language came from the popular show Monty Python's Flying Circus. Guido van Rossum likes the circus called Monty Python's Flying Circus, so he named after the Python's circus. Name the programming language as Python. Python 2.0 was released on October 16, 2000 with many major new features, including a cycle detecting garbage collector. If we compare the Python language with C++, we need to add a garbage collector in C++. If we haven't used any variable by declaring it, we need to remove the unwanted variable by using a garbage collector in C++. But we don't need to use any garbage collector. It is a default. By default, the garbage collector will collect the garbage from the source code that we have written. Okay, coming to Python 3. Python 3 was released on December 3 and 2008. Let's discuss about the Python versions. The first version of Python is version 0.9. In the first version of the Python, we have exception handling, the features called exception handling, functions, and code data types of lists, dictionary, string, and so on. Let's coming to version 1. Python reached version 1 in January 1994. The major new features included in this release were functional programming like lambda, map, filters, and etc. There are some other features you can understand. Let's coming to version 2. Python 2.0 released in October 2000, including it includes in the Python version 2 included list comprehensions from the functional programming, a feature borrowed from the functional programming. Version 3. Python 3 was released on December 3, 2008. It was designed to rectify the fundamental design flaws in the language. As as you know that there are some flaws in previous versions. All those flaws has rectified by introducing the version 3, version Python 3 version. Okay, this is the table of the versions that released. These are the release dates of the Python. Okay, how to download and install Python? I'll show you how to download and install Python. This is the official website of Python, python.org. If we go to the website, here you'll be seen the Python in downloads. Just click on it. It's very simple to use and it's very simple to download. Just you need to click the download, then after the download the Python software, just you need to I'll show the installation of the Python. Yeah, I have already installed the Python, so it asking the updation. Just in the same way, you can download the Python. You can install the Python. It will show you the window like this. Okay, let it be in the process. Before that, I'll explain you other topics. Okay, applications of the Python. These are the applications of the Python. You can use Python in web development, as I said to you that web development, machine learning, data visualization, game development, desktop applications. Python can be used to build server-side web applications. By using Flask and Django, we can use the Python to build a web development to build a web servers, a server-side applications. However, most Python developers write their web applications using a combination of Python and JavaScript. Python is executed, as I said to you, that Python is an integrated programming language. In in the same here we are using the integration. Python is executed on the server side while JavaScript is downloaded to the client and run by the browser. JavaScript is used in the browser and client side. The Python in the server side, Python language is used in the server side. Okay, in the same way, machine learning, data visualization, game development, desktop. In the same way, Python is used in these applications also. Okay, Python first program. I'll show you how to execute a Python first program. After the installation of it, I will show you. Okay, the setup was successful. I'm closing the window. So I'm opening the IDLE. This is provided by Python community. This is called Python IDLE. We can have different types of IDLEs. This is one of the type. I'll show you how to execute your first program. Let's take the same example that I have told you. Hello world program. So here is the first program of Python. It's very simple. If you want to print any statement, you just need to write a print statement, and we just need to open the brace, and we have to keep the statement that we want to print in columns. I'm saving the file with the name print.py. The extension of Python programming language is .py. I'm saving the file and I'm running. So here is the output of the program that we have written. So this is your first program. I hope all of you understood. Let's coming to the other topic, printing to the screen. What I have told you right now, is the printing statement. There are different types. We can write print statement in different. We can use the print statement in different types. The definition of the print statement is the print function prints the specified message to the screen or other standard output device. This is the definition of the print statement. I'll show you different some print statements. These are some print statements. Here x is equals to, here I have written print of hello comma how are you. X equals to apple, banana, cherry. This is called tuple. We can include some strings. These are called strings. Hello, how are you, apple, banana, cherry. These all are called strings. You can assign those to a variable. X is a variable here. You're printing the X, the tuple. You're printing the tuple by using a print statement. Here there is a delimiter, separator. In the fourth line, this is called a delimiter. Here we have written hello, how are you. If we want to separate those things, hello, how are you, with any character we want, with any string we want, we just need to write a separator. If we write the separator, it will separate the strings with this thing, with the thing that we have written in the separator. Let's execute it. With the action, I'm saving this with the extension called .py. I'm running the file. So here is the output. as you compare this, as I said to you, if you wanna separate, let's check the last line. If you wanna separate those two strings with a with a string or with the characters, here we separated those with hyphens, three hyphens. So this is the way it works. Okay, let's come to the last topic, reading from keyboard. Python user input from the keyboard can be read using the input of built-in function. The input from the user is read as a string. In Python, everything that will be taken as an input will be taken as a string only. After that only we have to convert the string into an integer or a float or anything we want. After entering the value from the keyboard, we have to press enter button. Then the input of function reads the value entered by the user. Let's see in the IDLE. Okay. Let's take a variable k equals to input of something, enter value. I'm saying saving the file. Okay, let's run it. Enter a value. So it took the input. Let's write a print statement here. Print of k. Type of k. To check the type of the variable, we use type function here. Value for here 4. Actually, the type of the value 4 is an integer, but we haven't changed the type of the value that we have given as an input. So it will automatically take it as it automatically taken as a string. If we change it as integer, let's see what the type it will give. I'm saving it. Running module. I'm giving the same 4. Have you seen this? It is giving it as integer. Here I have changed the string as an integer. So it has given the type it as integer. So that's it, guys. That's it for today's class. I'll meet you tomorrow.